All right, what up, everybody? Welcome back to Reseller Unscripted. I am your host, Dusty, and today's episode is going to be a blast. Reseller 101, what they never told me. Today, we're going to go through all the good, the bad, and the ugly, and it's going to be an episode full of horror stories, things to avoid, and some pointers that we wish we would have known before we started our reselling journeys. I'm joined, as always, by three of the industry's best: Ari with Smart Threads, Chris with Data Refinement, and my wife, Laura, with Our Cozy Corner. Our first segment we're going to get into is What I Wish I Knew. So Ari's going to kick it off here. Ari, what is one thing you wish you would have known on day one?
What's going on, everybody? Hope everybody's having a great week. Happy Thursday. Honestly, I was thinking about this question earlier this morning. I wish I knew how to run a proper P&L when I first started. I thought that lots of revenue meant the whole world, but honestly, when you break it down, margin is the most important thing. And once I took away just focusing on just revenue, and focused on margin, my bankroll went up. There's so many people out there that can just generate revenue all day long. Like as you see behind me, my room is full of jeans right now. We are out of space. We sold 650 pairs of jeans this morning before 11 a.m.
Wow.
Now, the show was great. We put up over $12,000 in revenue, but the most important thing is going to be when I go back and look at the margin, because either the show did really, really well, the show did all right, or we broke even. So like anybody can go on camera and sell a lot, sell, and you'll get all this revenue and it'll be like the most exciting thing in the world. But if you don't take a step back and slow down and think to yourself, okay, well, I did just sell $5,000, but that's really great. But like, what is the actual profit off the margin that I'm making at the end of the day? So what I wish I knew when I first started was how to run a proper P&L. So I'll kind of pass that off to Chris, what his question is.
Yeah, that's super important insight for sure. Chris, what I got for you is what has been one of your greatest resources?
So for me, definitely the greatest resource has been other sellers. So since I was the original person in my category, a lot of it I was trying to figure out on my own, but I'm not the original person on Whatnot. There's like literally thousands and thousands of sellers, and most of my ideas come from other streams. So I was able to look at what people were doing in the card category. I feel like live streaming, at least half of the revenue is sports cards or Pokemon cards, TCG. So most of the ideas, even now, come from other sellers in different categories. And I think the thing that I've been able to utilize the most is just watching people's streams. And I was just looking yesterday, I have followed 4,300 sellers.
Wow, dude.
And that's not me. I don't. That's me watching somebody, following them, and like writing down something they do that I want to try to like implement into my repertoire. I would say probably the best possible thing you can do as a live streamer is to be able to talk to the customer. So like you can look at all the different streams and see what they do, but the thing that stands out the most is if you join a stream and they're like, "Hey, what's up, Daily Refinement? Nice to see you. We're here in Chicago. We know you're in California." And then everyone that's in the chat's like, "Oh, interesting. This is not just a person selling. It's not just Netflix where they're talking at me. I can actually talk to the customer. They see the camaraderie, the small talk." That's the main difference between live streaming and every other platform. So I would say that definitely my greatest resource has been watching other streams and then following them because I want to see how they run their business. So it's really cool to see all these different categories. I think the clothing category that we all sell in is less than 5% of Whatnot. And to the point where it would be unusual if they spent any time on it because it's like not important to them. When you see Whatnot commercials, they're not about clothing because it's not a major GMV for them. So it's interesting to see, like, one more thought before we move on to Laura is, I was selling on eBay for a long time, like before you guys were born. And they neglected all their small categories, not because they don't care, but because they're so big. So eBay, you can sell literally anything. I don't think people realize how big eBay is. It's like a Fortune 100 company. It's one of the biggest companies in the world. And you can't focus. They literally have every single thing for sale on there. So what happened is I remember StockX came and they took just the sneaker category only. Now StockX sells everything, but in the original, it was only sneakers. And they literally poached the CEO of eBay to move over there and be the CEO of StockX. And they took just one category and killed it. And I actually see Whatnot moving that direction, because if you guys are on watching it, every single day they add a new category
every day.
and they're focused on that. So the greatest resource is going to be that. There's so many people bringing in new ideas and new thoughts, and we're at the very beginning where everyone's still doing it at home or figuring out a commercial setup. But in the future, we're going to see the full gamut from like people just like, hey, it's my first thing. And that's something I'm seeing more and more. I'm seeing more and more brand new people get traction, because I think this is my last thought. Sorry, it's a lot. TikTok, you don't have to be famous to go viral. But it's not as much like that on YouTube and Instagram. They very much favor seasoned creators. On TikTok, though, if you make something cool, they give you all of the traffic. And the same thing happens on Whatnot. I've seen brand new people with 500 people in their stream. You just have to have something worth all those people staying, and the algorithm will keep feeding you people. If you're doing something, if you set up a live dunk tank, I've not seen that. Somebody sets up a live dunk tank, and at 100 sales, you get dunked. It's gonna have your very first show. People are gonna wait until you get dunked, and you get a thousand followers your very first show easily just from doing that stunt. And you could literally go to the carnival and use theirs. And I'm just excited to see what happens. But don't like think that you know anything, because there's just so many sellers that know a lot, and that's what we should be doing.
It sounds like if this video and this podcast gets 1,000 comments, I will fly out to California. I will rent a dunk tank. Myself, Laura, and Dusty will take turns throwing softballs to dunk Chris in the dunk tank. And
Oh,
if
we
Don't
I
can
have
do
make
to
that.
it on the
convince me
first
to do that.
try, if I make it on the first try, I will give away a pallet with 500 items in it for free.
I love it.
Right on.
Ooh, that's
1,000
a
comments, guys. It's
challenge.
easy.
Yep, everybody out there, you heard it here first.
I love it.
There's so much to unpackage there, Chris, and so much, just such a wealth of knowledge. But I think, we've talked about it several times. The whole hope of this podcast is exactly that. There is so many people out there with so many different ideas, and being able to take pieces from all of those people and bring it into what you're doing is so, so important. And even across categories, I feel like one of the biggest things burnout wise, and you kind of talked about this a little bit, is like, I did a good thing. I brought a new thing to the platform that I'm on, and it scaled up really big, and it was great. And then they just sit on that, and they sit on doing the same exact thing over and over and over again. And eventually your buyer base is going to burn out of that, and it's going to go on to the next thing. Who's the most exciting? Who did the new thing? Who did the dunk tank? And I think it's really important. This business is dynamic. You have to be dynamic with it. So you have to go out and find those things, learn those things, implement them into your sales strategy, or you're going to turn into a dinosaur, and everybody's going to kind of just pass you by and go on to the next thing. So I think that you brought up a lot of really, really good points there. Thanks, Chris. Laura, what is one of the first mistakes you made?
Well, this is an easy one. So, first mistake that I made was thinking it was going to be a really good strategy starting all my shows, all my inventory at $1. So when you first start on Whatnot, you have to hit 1,000 sales to get instant payouts. So my thought was, I just quit my full-time job. I just want to hit this goal so I can get, paid as fast as possible. So I started everything at $1, even though I actually paid more than $1 for some of the products. But now we're 2 years later still struggling because we have built a customer base that is used to a $1 starts. So it's really hard for us to bring in higher end products because we're so known for we'll do $1 start regardless of our cost. I can tell you, I don't pay $1 for really anything that I have, right? So it's $5 to $50 a unit or a piece that we sell. So it's definitely hurt us in a way of like, I think I think so. Obviously, we're very grateful for our customers, but I think one thing that I should have done is just set a price point and get my customers like used to that. Because now it's like, what is the saying? Grinding teeth to try, or what's the saying?
You have to
Grinding
like
teeth. You
not
have to
grind
really
teeth, like more of like pull an arm.
pull, pull a teeth or whatever the saying is. To like get your customers to understand like this is worth more than $1 bid. And yeah, so that is a big mistake we made, and we're slowly starting, especially in the summer season. Like we just can't do the dollar starts because we are getting absolutely killed on some of the products. And so, oh, we lost Ari. He'll be back. I think. I hope. But anyway, yeah, that's a big mistake, and I know a lot of people do the same thing. Would I do it again? Probably. I don't know.
I think that's super important though, especially for newer sellers to hear. I think you got to have some forward thinking when you're first starting. I think the mindset a lot of times is I'm just going to jump in, I'm going to do it, and I really just need to gain a ton of followers and get to that 1,000 sales or whatever I need to be. And they don't really think about the repercussions of like, I am deciding today what my business is going to look like a year down the road. Am I going to start my business as a dollar bin store and it all starts at $1 and I just don't care what it goes for? Is that the mentality we want? Or hey, am I a luxury brand and people just know inherently this is the value of these things and I have to start it at that? But I definitely think that's a huge mistake that a lot of people make is, like Laura said, just getting back out of that hole. If you start something the wrong way or you introduce a product the wrong way, it can easily hurt your price point as you move along. And we see that even now where we'll get 10,000 of a unit in. And if we don't start it right, it's not going to go well for us. We got to start it right. We got to start a precedence right so that people know when they come in, okay, this is a nice brand and this is the price point that it should be at or needs to be at for them to be successful. Okay, we're going to jump on into the next segment.
Can we just discover is Ari here? Ari's here.
I think Ari's on 3 different screens right now. Oh, there he is.
Okay.
Honestly,
I love it.
Honestly, my phone is going nutso right now.
Hey, this is the whole part of the unscripted
Guys,
portion of this.
the amount of technology that's running in this office, like iPhone here, iPad here, another cell phone there, like I'm finding devices all over the place. This feels like it's about to catch on fire. Kong is sleeping on the floor right next to me. People are coming in here and sorting stuff, so I apologize. But Laura, I totally agree. Like I totally can understand with what you were saying. Like I can relate to that. Because when I started Smart Threads, I ran everything at $1 too, like all the time. Dollar start, dollar start, dollar start. And that's the whole reason why I was like, revenue is so amazing. Like, we're seeing all this revenue, but like really my margins were horrible. And there's some inventory that I know that I can run at $1 because it will go up to where I need to be marginally wise. And then there's inventory I know that I buy that I will have to start it at a higher margin. But
right, but so here's my question that I struggle with. So you put that it's a $1 start and it gets people excited. You get a bunch of people in, and people want to be in there bitten because they know that if you're doing sudden death, especially like 5 or 10 second sudden death, like, oh my gosh, I need to be in here because I could be getting a $500 dress for $5 or whatever. So it is like a sale and promoting tool tactic kind of thing that we're like trying to balance out. Like, is it what's best? We're always just trying new things. And when we do the same product, let's say we do PUL. We started at $10. We show more items that does not sell than we sell items, right? And it is cost, it's opportunity cost, right? So we were paying for an employee to show this item multiple streams, and then we will actually sell it for more if we started at $1, but there's also so much more to lose. So
Well, that's the risk of
anyway,
whatnot. If you start something at $1, you got to expect for it to go to $1. That's what I tell everybody. Like if like I'm a culprit of getting upset. When I first started my journey, when things started at $1, now I know there's nothing you can do to control it. If you started at $1, you're going to need to take the risk of it selling for $1. Doesn't matter if it's
yeah.
a $700 dress or a $5 lotion. Like it's all a risk. You could have 100 people in your show, and something if you started at $1, it might still sell at $5. It's just all part of it, and you have to be able to make the decision if you're a seller on the app, how to move with the chat. Like I know in the mornings I can push stuff at $1 versus in the afternoons, it's a little bit slower that I'll have to start things, at a higher price point. And then the evenings, it's all we're all running mini casinos. You're the MGM, you're the Aria, I'm the Win, and Dusty is Old Vegas.
Is Dusty the oldest one here, or how I don't know. Chris, how old are you?
Probably.
I think I'm the oldest. I'm 40.
Ooh, he's barely got me beat.
I think I'm the youngest.
No, I'm the youngest. I'm 20. I'll be 26 in a couple days.
I'm 29, turning 30 this year. So you got me beat.
I do.
But I think it's an important thing to juggle, especially if you're a new seller just coming in. What is the precedence you want to set? Do you want 100 people in your room that are battling over a $3 product, or do you want to set a precedence where $5 is where I need to be on this, and I'm going to wait till I get my right buyers, and those right buyers are going to come back in and they know what to expect and they're going to pay the price that this should go at? Or do you want a bunch of bargain shoppers that are just trying to grab a deal? Yes, you might win sometimes where it goes over, but you also have to be understanding, like Ari just said, it may go for $1, and that's the risk you're running. And so really a lot of it to me is forethought. What do you want your business to be? How risk adverse are you? Can you handle the risk of, I just bought $10,000 worth of products. If it all goes for $1, I might be out of business. So I think it's really important to weigh those things as you're getting started. Really good points there. Okay, we're going to jump into the next section, our greatest challenges. And we're going to have Chris start this one. What is your greatest daily challenge, Chris?
My greatest daily challenge is definitely scheduling. So right now I have 11 full-time people and 2 part-time people, and we sell a little over 1,000 items a day. So my plan is I have to organize my staff so each person is at their highest yield. There's certain people who are good at picking. There's certain people who are good at shipping. Then there's people work at different paces. Some people get a higher, should sell luxury items. So because I have a different inventory every day, what I'm doing each day is matching up what I should do. So today I actually have a streamer shipping because it's so detailed that she's the only one that can properly ship it. So I have somebody else streaming a show that is less intense and doesn't need that level of detail. So it depends on what you're selling. So for me, I'm trying to match my staff's best strengths to each product, which is exhausting. This is why I'm only about 5 shows ahead. I would love to be a whole week ahead, but our goal is 7 shows a day, and I'm not even at 1 day ahead. The inventory changes a lot, and people's staff change. If somebody calls in sick, it affects the whole schedule. I have to change it, then we'll sell something different to match somebody else. And I'm running super lean right now because it's the summer. We know every year it is harder at this time of year. So we have a smaller crew, and talking to some people at Lululemon, they were telling me that they lay off sometimes 40% of their staff Q1 and Q4. And I would rather not do that. So I'm just telling people, like, we're going to take all your vacations in the summer. Let's be super skeleton crew. And then in the winter, everybody work overtime. Instead of having more people work less efficiently, I'm just telling people, hey, when October through March comes and it's busy, everybody be prepared to make six figures. In the summer, let's all just work with what we have and try to just keep it slim. And I'll have, you know, I have only one streamer that I can do high starts. Yesterday she did a $60 start. She sold 140 items at $60 starts. I only have one person that can command that, because you have to believe it's worth $200 to start at $60 for it to even move up from there. Unless, like, you will have a stream where everything is expensive and you have a higher start and they'll sell items. But to have it have a high start and go up, that's a very hard position to be in, because you have to tell people, like, I'm not putting any of these items back and you're not going to see them again. This is the lowest we can afford to sell for, and you're not going to see it. And with the right attitude, every single item will sell at that start point, but it's very hard. You have to have the right inventory, right person, right setup. You have to have enough marketing. There's enough people in there. There are plenty of streams that sell every single item over retail that start at $1, but they have 800 people in the chat that want that item. You can also see the opposite. You'll see people with 800 people and they'll sell it for 10% of retail, because all of those people don't want that item. So something I learned from, there's a channel I want to shout out, 36 Sample Sale. That person brought in some knowledge from the Asian market, because that's their background. They were streaming in Asia and then they came here. And they told me that you only need like around 20 people in your stream that want an item to get above wholesale pricing. So wholesale is traditionally 50% of retail. So if you want 51% of retail, which is considered pretty good on Whatnot, if you sell for half of what it's worth, you need 22 people bidding on the same item for it to go that high. Now, in clothing, this is why I'm trying not to sell clothing. To get 22 people who are that size and want that style is unlikely, unless you have a few hundred people in your stream. To get 22 people who want the same item is extremely unlikely. And if you look at the bell curve of, like, you know, who's watching, and you'll also see streams, this is my last point on this challenge, with 30 people where every single item is selling for a good amount, because you've hit the target of, this show is for these people only. If you did a size small show only, I actually think that's better, because you're converting so many of the people, medium, large to extra large, they're not going. They already know the show is not for me. So the people that are in there, you can have a more intimate conversation. You'll probably get higher prices than with triple the people, and you didn't tell them it's only small. And you have all these people not converting, and the app's probably like, what's wrong with you? We're not going to give you any more people, because the people we're giving you, you're not turning them into sales. I can see a lot changing in the next probably 5 years as the algorithm learns people's shopping patterns. We're going to be, it's almost going to be like you show up to Whatnot and you do a survey for what you're looking for, and they plug you into that show. You don't get to choose anymore, because, like, we get ads. We don't choose what ads go into our news feed. Facebook, Google, they already know what we're looking for. They know you're pregnant before you do, because of your search patterns. Like, Target actually got busted for that. They were like sending people diaper and baby formula things before they even knew they were pregnant, because their shopping patterns changed. Like, bought more junk food and like whatever. They know you're pregnant, but you don't know yet. So, like, this is going to be huge in the future, when it's recommending what you want to buy. It's kind of like Black Mirror, but it's going to be like, that's why I think it's so important to match your staff to whatever it is that you're doing, because sadly, we do not sell the same thing every day. But you know, that's my biggest challenge, is I don't want to get stuck on Whatnot selling one niche and that niche doesn't work. And every niche is at minimum at least seasonal. So maybe it does work, but then it works less in the summer than it does in the winter. That's already scary to me. So I want to have shorts and pants. I want to have jackets and swimwear, because I'm just scared that you're stuck in one thing and you can't move, because there are streams doing 100,000 a day, and there are streams that can't even sell one item a day. So what is the difference? We have the same 24 hours in a day, but my biggest challenge right now, it's 11:30 in the morning Pacific Standard Time. I only have until 5 p.m. planned. I'm only a few hours ahead. And all these people at work are just waiting. What am I going to do when that timer? They only know what to do for the next 5 hours. And then after that, they're just going to be on the clock, not earning money without doing anything unless they come up with their plan. Very hard for me to get ahead.
I think that's really, there's a ton to unpack there for sure, but staffing is definitely an issue that we all deal with. So a little tidbit, actually, our next episode is going to be about staffing and scaling. So make sure you guys check that out. Next week, we'll be having that one. Okay, we're going to move on to Laura. What is something you thought would be easy, but it wasn't?
Yeah, so basically keeping your show fully in like full energy, full engagement, entertainment for throughout your whole show, right? So you start a show, you're super pumped, you're ready, you got the inventory, you're ready to go. It's going to be forever long show, you're going to make a lot of money, and then an hour, 2 hour goes by and you're slowly losing energy. Not that you don't want to be there, but it is, for me, it's very, very draining to have to put on entertainment for very long hours, which is why we used to do like a full 8 hour stream per employee, but it's just so draining that now we're cutting them up. So now it's like only 4 hours, then they have a required break, and then they start a new show for 4 hours or 3.5 hours or whatever. But yes, it's not something that just comes naturally. So and the thing that is hard some days is like, you have to go on the show, you have to put a show on, otherwise people are not going to stick around because they're there for entertainment and good products and good deals, right? And so it doesn't always, like I said, it doesn't always come naturally. You can have a bad day and every one of your customers can catch on and they can be like, "What's wrong, Laura? Like why are you not being yourself?" And so yeah, and just like also one thing is you can't just start a show and then not be prepared. I've learned that because we definitely, when we prep racks of clothing and they look nice and everything, we make a lot more money than we do just pulling it out of a pallet. So preparing, keeping the energy up, the engagement throughout the show. I am really bad at engaging the chat. Like, I don't say like put a purple heart in the chat if you like this dress, or like put a W in the chat. Like, I'm just not good at that stuff. Like, I feel, to me it feels um forced, right? I know that it helps the algorithm get you higher up. There's more talk in the chat. No, there's a lot of things that goes into it, but I'd much rather have like personal conversations. And that's where I also have sometimes hard times like keeping conversations going and also keeping the show going, because I want to talk about the product. I want to sell fast because I'm there. It's my job, but I also want to entertain the customers. So it's that portion is not easy for me.
Yeah, I definitely think a really important thing, we kind of talked about it on the last episode, swiping through the Instagram and seeing how everybody else has all these things. I think it's really easy for new people coming in to be like, oh, yeah, well, I could stand in front of a camera for hours on end and sell things. And you don't really fully understand how mentally taxing that can be. And it's not always necessarily in a bad way. It's not like because our chat wasn't chatting or because the product or whatever. It's just an overarching, like, it's just a lot of mental effort, a lot of multitasking, a lot of on your feet, a lot of thinking on your feet. And so I think that's definitely one of those things that doesn't hold its full weight until you actually do it and you fully understand that, like, wow, okay, there's a lot to this and I'm gonna have to find a way to reboot my energy every single day because I gotta bring that in order to be successful. I'm gonna have to bring that. We're a little behind time, Ari, so I'm gonna jump into our next category and just have you lead that one off. So the next category is talking about the worst inventory I ever bought, and this should be fun. Ari, what is your biggest tip for someone that is just starting to source their own inventory?
You know, it's funny that you bring that up, Dusty, because I was talking about that this morning in my morning show. Because every time I do my morning talk shows, because I think I like to give back to the community before I start selling in the morning. And one of the things that everybody is always asking is, where can I get inventory? Where can I get inventory? Where are their pallets? Where are their pallets? And it's like, take a deep breath, pause. There's no special place to get inventory. If I just sit here and tell you where to get inventory, I'm not going to list the places right now because we're not getting sponsored by them. But what I'm going to say is this. In the beginning, you do not want to put yourself in financial debt by buying a bunch of inventory, buying a bunch of fancy electronics. You just need bare bones. What I mean by that is everybody has stuff in their closets at home. I'm speaking to every single person that's listening. If you're just, wanting to start out, there's stuff in your closet that you don't wear. There's stuff in your garage that you don't use. You can sell that on this platform. Number two, to really tango into Dusty's question, is just because something is so cheap does not mean that you're going to make a lot of money. It's like what Chris said last week. What you put in is what you're going to get out. If you buy something for $1, let's give an example, like 20,000 graphic t-shirts. I bought, I think it was like 50,000 graphic Zoomy t-shirts. I thought it was a killer deal. I was like, wow, I'm going to bundle these all together. I'm going to sell them all. What ended up happening is it was all duplicates. It takes so much time to move through 50,000 t-shirts because one, you'll face buyer fatigue. Two, you're selling something that costed you $1. So most likely it's not the best product. And three, it's going to oversaturate. I think that was one of the buying things that I learned in the beginning was like, I can't just go out and expect to get the best inventory right in the beginning. Like, it's going to take time to find good inventory. What you put in is what you get out. You have to take the time to source. You have to take the time to build relationships. And you can't just go and expect to buy some random pallet and hope to make money. There's so many people on this app right now that I want everybody to listen to, whether it's on Whatnot, whether it's on Schmutnot, it could be eBay Live, it could be any of those places. If it looks too good to be true, it is too good to be true. There are people that are out there that are just shoving SHI into pallets and pawning it off. I'm not going to name names, or I'm not going to say who's doing it, because everybody's trying to run their businesses and I want everybody to win. But if you think that you're getting a good deal, you must really think, what am I buying? Am I going to be able to flip it? Am I going to be able to make money? Or am I going to end up upside down? Just because it says free shipping does not mean that you're getting a good deal. Some people could just be literally taking all the stuff that doesn't sell for them and dumping it in a pallet. Now, I know for a fact Daily Refinement doesn't do that and Laura doesn't do that. I sure as don't do that, because we actually care about our customers and we want you to come back. I'm not looking to just make a quick buck. But there's so many people that are on this app or any live selling app that are literally throwing items into a pallet that I truly know that nobody will be able to resell. You will be stuck with that stuff. And that is a horrible buying decision that you can make. So don't be that person, and take your time, do some research, and then buy your pallet so you don't end up in a bad position. So my whole advice would be to slow down.
That's great advice. There's a lot of good in there, Ari, for sure. I definitely think that there's a lot of people that come in thinking, oh, I saw somebody else do this. I'm just going to buy it and I'm going to flip it myself. And it's going to be super easy. And like you said, so many people think, well, it's cheap. I've got to make money on this. And most of the time that's not the case, because you're looking for quality inventory and you're generally not going to get quality inventory at $1. So I love that. If you think it's too good to be true, it probably is.
If
Definitely
you're selling garbage, you got to expect you're going to get garbage prices,
I love that.
And you're going to screw over your buyers and nobody's going to come back to you.
Yep. Yeah, you're playing the long game. Just like you said, you're playing the long game. You're not looking to make a quick buck and turn around and jet out. You want a customer for a lifetime. Somebody's going to return and continue to buy. You're going to be much better in the long run doing that, for sure. Okay, Laura, what is a category you want to be good at but have struggled with?
So this kind of goes back to the $1 start. So one thing that we struggle with on our channel is high ticket item. So like anything, I would say $300 plus. So more towards like the high end luxury brands. So we struggle selling that because our customers are so used to the $1 start. So I we're trying to step our or dip our toes into the water on that. So like buying higher end stuff, starting it for higher, and kind of building like a different clientele, if that makes sense. So um both I know Ari does a lot of higher end clothing, and I know his price per units are higher, so he couldn't do a dollar start. He would lose money on it if it's sold for lower. Obviously it could go for lower than his cost. So yeah, we've struggled with that. And another thing that we struggled with was kind of funny because now it's like what we mainly run, but when we started on Whatnot, we tried out a shoe palette. It was the worst thing we've ever done in our entire life. Granted, it was like a Target shoe palette, but it was horrible. We couldn't give it away,
No,
right? So
no,
we were
don't
like,
say
we're
that. I just
never
bought
gonna.
21,000 units of Target. That scares me.
No, you're gonna be good. I'll help you because it's fine. It's as long as they're not Target shoes.
Prayers.
Anyway, so we had that Target palette of shoes, basically couldn't give it away, right? And so then we just tried new brands and we're like, okay, well, we asked our customers in the chat, like, what kind of brands do you like? What kind of do you like athletic? Do you like heels? Do you like blah blah blah? Like we ask a lot of questions because why bring in a product our customers don't want, right? But now in the fourth quarter, majority of what we run are shoes. The thing is, it's not just one brand; it's mix of brands, and um, that that's another thing that's really hard for us. If we buy a deal that's just one brand, it gets saturated, and people don't come back for the shows. Like if we buy 20,000 pieces of Susana Monaco, for example, like we'll get a lot of size small, not so many medium, very little large, and probably no extra large plus size. And everyone who's a size small has already gotten every single style they want. And it's just a really tough sell. So basically, the tough parts are buying deep into one brand. It was tough for us to do the shoes in the beginning, but then learning our customers what they like and everything, and then the super high ticket items. And it's starting it at higher price point and hoping that there's going to be a customer there for it. So
Yeah, I think that's an important lesson too. Of like, I know obviously Laura's my wife, and we run our cozy corner together. But when we started with shoes, it was something we really wanted to do. We wanted to be good at it, and we failed so many times. We got asked so often on our Q&As early on, what category is the worst for you? And it was hands down by far shoes. It was so bad. We ran so many other things, and we just could not figure out how to get a buying base for shoes. And it kind of goes back to what Chris was saying about having to have 22 people in your room that want that. Well, when you're talking shoes, everybody's size is so specific that you really have to have a solid room to be able to sell that product unless you're doing like a buy it now on it. But if you're auctioning random pairs of shoes over and over and over again, you got to have a good buying base, because if you don't have a buyer for size 10 and a half, that shoe's going for $1. And so it really was just figuring out what do people want, and then slowly kind of building up that audience to the point where we could handle doing dollar starts on shoes, because it was so awful for us for a long time. Okay, Chris, I'm very intrigued by this one. If you had $100,000 to invest in any product, any category right now, what would you be buying?
All right, so I'm gonna flip the script on you for you guys for a little bit. So So what is the I have 100K to spend on any category?
Yep, 100K, you can invest in anything that you're reselling.
Okay, so I want to ask you guys if you think this rule is reasonable or not. So I think that anything that I can sell for at least 2 times what I can pay for it. So in this scenario, 200,000, with the caveat that it sells entirely within 30 days. So obviously, I like selling for. No one wants to buy something for 10 and sell for 20, and after all the dust lands, you make $1 to $2 on it. But in an entire month, I would be willing to do that. I would be willing to spend 100,000 to sell it for 200,000 and only make as little as $10,000 profit. If 100% of it is gone within 30 days, I'm willing to take that risk.
Absolutely.
Now, the reason why I asked that is because there are tons of items that I have that I wait for 3, 4, 5x, and they do get it, but it takes a year or 2 years. I talked to one seller specifically. Her model is 2 years. She will not sell it for less than a certain amount. She wants it to sell for the amount it's worth, and she'll just wait. So I wanted to ask you guys this thought because currently, um, my model has been only buy what I can sell in 30 days, and as long as it meets that 2x, and um, it's different because I'm also used to selling some things that I pay. Some of my items I sell for 10 times what I paid for it, but they just don't sell very often because of this thing we were talking about earlier. There might only be 22 people in a whole day that want that, so you're only going to sell one of those a whole day in an entire day. So it's something to consider.
Yeah, I think we're kind of battling with the same thing. We got the same model, Chris. Everything that we get, our overhead is so massive that it's like we have to get it in and we have to cycle through it. It's the way that our money revolves for the business. It's how we buy and bring in new things. We have to find a way to cycle it faster. But now we've started to kind of take a step back and look at that more 3 to 6 month range of like, how do we buoy both at the same time? How do we have our quick turnaround products while also taking a little bit of our profits from each one and invest it? Halloween's coming up. I want to be ahead of the season. So I'm starting to buy Halloween costumes and things like that. Christmas is coming up. We've got like 5 storage units full of Christmas stuff right now. So finding little buys that we can do along the way is helping us to not have to like dive full into 100,000 into this and it sits for a year. I can take little bits at a time so I barely notice that it's gone and I forget about that product over time. And then as soon as Christmas comes and I have 10 storage units full of Christmas stuff, it's a victory, right? So that's kind of the model that we're starting to swap to, is like continuing to cycle our small things, but taking a portion of our profit from each of those small things and investing it in a long-term buy.
I honestly think holding inventory, like depending on what your cash flow is also really good, because like one thing that we're doing now is we're stockpiling inventory for around we want to hold at least between 3 to 4 months of inventory at a given time. That way we can diversify it. So like I'm hunting as many buys as possible right now. Like I'm submitting in between 9 to 10 POs a week, just because I don't want to be in the cycle of running the same thing every single day. With that being said, there are buys out there where you could run the same thing every day. If it's a brand that's so diverse, like a department store where you're getting just a whole bunch of different units, you could easily turn that into, I don't know, Chris, you are the man of running hundreds of thousands of units, but like you could break it down into a whole bunch of different shows. So like I'm wanting to hold inventory now. Like I will take it in, I will process it, and then I'll store it, and then my goal is to at least move it within 3 months and then rinse and repeat, because it takes so long for inventory to arrive. Everything is either on the West Coast, which a lot of it is on the West Coast, and me being on the East Coast in New York City, that, between pack and delivery, it could be a week to 2 weeks if the carrier wants to take their time. So I'm trying to do something new with that by holding inventory. I know it sounds absolutely insane and absolutely stupid and absolutely crazy, but what I am noticing is that me being able to hold inventory and being able to diversify the shows, we're seeing a much higher ASP, a much higher, audience, reacting to that versus than me just running the same thing 5 days in a row, because it'll be really good the first day. Like you will be like, wow. And then it's just going to just fall. It's just going to crash. So I don't know. What do you think about that, Chris?
I think that currently I have all the different models. I have stuff that sells right away. I have stuff that I've been holding for longer than a year. And I think the company that I like the most is Costco, and they only have a 22-day turn. So that's faster than 1 month. And because of that, they lose margin because they can't, when you only buy a small amount, you're not getting a big economy of scale. This is Costco, a gigantic company. They're making small buys to make sure they sell all in 1 month. And because of that, when you walk into Costco, every single time there's at least a few products that are different. Most of it is similar, but there's always a little bit of difference. And when you make large buys, you make this huge margin, but then you run into maybe running the same show every day. I've run some shows 100 times in a year, which is, I don't want to do that, but I have so much of it and I got such a quote unquote good deal. But then now that I've been doing this a couple of years, there's storage costs that I have difficulty tracking. I don't really know how much it's costing me to store. And currently, I'm only buying that short kind of inventory. So I'm just going to see, because Costco has more money than they can buy stuff with. And they have literally their highest margins are like 14% markup. That means they buy something for $1 and they sell for $1.15. They don't have a large markup. But because of that, if we were to mark things up like that, we would have 22-day sell-through. Can you imagine we take something in for $2 and sell for $2.50? It would be gone literally as soon as it came. It'd be going out the same day. So it's so interesting because like at those tiny margins, the things move so quickly. On our last episode, we talked about Starbucks, which marks it up 500%. They get it in for $2, they sell for $10. And then you have Costco, they get it for $2, they sell for $2.50. But Costco, Starbucks, it takes I think 18 months to get their money back. From bean to somebody drinking it, it's a year and a half.
Wow.
Right? Versus Costco is literally 22 days. So it's really interesting because we probably fit somewhere in there. Both those companies are big and successful. Both of them rely on the personal touch to work. Starbucks doesn't work without them writing the name on it. I just found out Starbucks is down big time since it all moved to mobile ordering, and it's just like the personal touch is gone. No one wants to feel like a number. And this is also when you're moving thousands and thousands of units, there's no personal touch. Right? How many are you moving per hour? The only personal touch you can do is, I think the happy medium, which is extremely difficult to achieve, would be like you just sell around 50 items an hour, which is 1 per minute, which on Whatnot I would consider a moderate pace. But every single one that you're selling, you have 100 of. That would be the only volume plus personal touch you could do. And longer than 1 minute talking about an item, your customer is already dead inside. That's a long time on Whatnot. On an instant gratification site, 1 minute is a long time.
I totally agree with you on that.
Could you present 50 items an hour and sell 100 each? Or do you sell 200 items an hour where you can't even say what it is other than size? Small, large, medium, extra large, right? And in China, this is called quick selling, and it's against the terms of use. You cannot do quick selling in Asia anymore because customers don't know what they're buying. They've decided we do not want 5,000 sales an hour. You can't even sell on our platform in that fashion. You have to mention at least 10 things about it. And you guys know that takes a minute to say brand, size, type, condition, how you would wear it. And Ari, sometimes I hear you weighing the benefits. Do we talk about all of it? Because here's the thing. When you talk about all of it, it sells for less money. And that's the idea. The platform doesn't want you selling things for a hyped up price. They want somebody getting all the information and buying below market. That's actually what Whatnot wants. It's not what sellers want. But like what customers are looking for is, I want all the information and I want you to give it to me at a loss. That's what a customer wants. You have to balance between, I have no idea what I'm buying. Here's my $20, right? And like, we just trust us. You'll get a good deal for $20. They give us $20, we give them something that we paid $10 for. Or if you fully explain a $10 item, I'm convinced it'll sell for $9.
Absolutely.
Because you have to explain. You can get this yourself on eBay. You can, like, if you give people 100% of the information, I don't even think you can sell for what you bought it for, because they know what you paid for it, and that's going to affect it. So like, nowhere in the world do you buy something and they tell you what they're in, unless they're lying, right? They're not going to tell, because it's not relevant. They just want to know, like, is it worth, you're selling this can of Coke for $2? Is it worth $2 of my money? I know you paid 5 cents for it, but Coke doesn't say that when you go and buy a drink. They're not like, you're such an idiot. We made this for 2 cents. You're buying it for $2. They just,
so good.
you know, it's just like, do you think this is worth $2? And that's when you get the most money. You tell people this is worth 100. Go, $100 start. 1 second sudden death. Do you want it or not? $100 MSRP. That does work, but it has the highest buyer's remorse. People are like, oh no, I paid 100 for it. It's on eBay for 13. I feel bad. I don't want to shop on this site anymore because I got hyped into it. So, you know, we got to like manage repeat customers, and there's so much involved with this, and selling it for less than it's worth is part of generating that large audience, but it's like also like less money.
But what is enough to share though? Because if I'm selling you this pen marker, I could tell you in very quickly, just because it's my style, because this is a dry erase marker, this is the brand, this is what color it is, this is how it writes. Then I hit run auction, and then it's gone in 5 seconds. Or I could say
It depends.
this is a colored marker. Boom, run.
How
There's
long
some
has
people
it
that
been
will just
used?
say size small, size medium, size large, size extra small. But I think the most important things, and what I tell everybody that sells for me: size, brand, MSRP, hit run. While the auction
We
is
do the
running,
same.
either it's a 10-second or 15-second, that's where you massage. That is where you romanticize. And you can still go really fast. Size small, $225 t-shirt from blah, 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 blah. Hit run, and then you can talk about the quality, the fabric, and all this.
I think you're right, Ari, and I want to go back to what Laura said earlier. It depends on your audience. If you are a person that doesn't care about the price, right? And there's plenty of people like that. Price is not the most important part of whatnot. If you are a good buyer, in my opinion, I'm a good buyer. I don't need to know how much it costs. I need to know, is it the right size, and do I like it? I don't care what you paid for it. I don't care being that. I want to know, is it my size? Do I want it? And can you ship it today? I want it right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that customer is different than the customer who wants, Ari, Laura, can you guys make me a spreadsheet of every single website this is sold for? And I want it for 30% less than any of those, and free shipping. And I want to combine it with all my orders in the next 3 weeks. That way I can save money on shipping. There's that customer too, right?
Yes.
And the customer that pays full price in 1 second might be happier than the person that you made a spreadsheet for them. They paid 30% under, and they're like, I could have just bought a sandwich instead. And then, like, it depends on the satisfaction, in my opinion, needs to be higher than what your customer wants. So you pick who you want to serve. Do you want the people like, I am easy to sell stuff to. I don't need to know how much it costs you. I don't need to know where it was made. Sustainability to me kind of.
I think it all really depends, because if you're selling like a $1,000 dress versus a $100 dress, there's 2 different styles. Like, you got to really be able to become a chameleon with the inventory and your
There's
audience.
thousands of styles. There's so many styles.
No, but what
So many
he's,
styles.
I think what he's saying is it worth our time to explain for like 5 minutes, explain this $5 item, or is it worth our time to take 5 minutes and explain this $1,000 dress?
It
So there's-
depends. It depends,
Right.
because like if you have a $5 item that you have 10,000 of, then I think you should do a half an hour explanation.
Absolutely.
And
Oh,
and
absolutely.
you should have a rock band in the back background.
There we go.
You should have a
Flash on the guitar.
you should have
Yes.
Slash jamming out, right? And oh my God, Adele's also here for some reason. If you have 10,000 of them for $5, that makes sense to do that. If you have one of them for $5, probably not,
No.
right?
All right,
It's
fam.
hard to balance.
Or you can
I
just
think
put him on camera.
we're probably going to break this episode into two
Yep.
parts because I think there's just so much to unpackage here, and we've only made it
Yep.
through like half of our segments of what we wanted to uncover today, which has been phenomenal. So I think we'll make a part 2 of this. I want to get closing thoughts because we've got about 5 minutes here. So I'm going to kind of rapid fire through these. Each person, I've got a question for each of you, and then we'll kind of sum it up and we'll get out of here and look for a part 2 probably next week. So Laura, I'm going to start out with you. What is your greatest advice to someone who wants to dive in but just isn't sure?
Yeah. Well, I can speak from personal experience because I did just that. I would literally just do it. But stay consistent, right? So apply so let's say it's on Whatnot, right? So apply to sell, schedule up a show, have your show prepped, go into other shows, promote if you're allowed to, talk about how you're going to have a show, and just do it, right? You're just going to turn your camera on and 2 or 5 people are going to show up and you guys are going to have the greatest time of your life, your little circle together, and you got to just stay consistent. You don't need a perfect setup. You don't need all the things that you see the bigger sellers. You just need to go on, be yourself, have something you can sell. You can find stuff around your house, right? As long as it's within the policy, just find stuff around your house, make some money on that, and then flip it around. Don't buy a $5 million truckload and start your shows, because you're gonna set yourself up for failure in the beginning.
Yeah, I think that's super important. I think that's one of the biggest things, like my thought process at the beginning, because I started on Whatnot too in the car category, and I was working another job at the time. And I think one of the biggest things that I can recommend, and it's not for everybody, but if you're going to do it, do it. Don't just, well, I can do a little bit here and there. You're going to make excuses. I feel like when you dive all into something, you can't make excuses. You're either going to win or you're not. You just have to decide what you're going to do with that. If you only do it part-time or you only do it for a little bit, but you want to be full-time, it's going to be easier for you to make excuses of like, oh, my other job comes first or this or that. I feel like if you dive all in, you're sold out on that. You have to be sold out on that. So I think that's really important. Let's jump on to the next one. We got a couple more minutes here. Ari, if you were just starting out today, what would you change?
It's very simple. I would have hired a Gabe a lot sooner. Everybody
Gabe's a
needs
legend.
Gabe is a legend. Shout out to Gabe if you're listening. No, but seriously, the one thing that I wish I did, starting out sooner was slowing down. I'm a person where my brain runs like a Ferrari. I like I like instant gratification. I like things to happen very, very quickly. But if you're going to be successful in business, and my father has always told me this, is you have to slow down, you have to implement the processes, and all of that takes time. And the most important thing on top of that is to be consistent. So, again, like I truly believe anybody can be successful at this. Just slow down, realize it's not going to happen overnight. I like things to happen overnight. My team probably gets so mad at me because I'm like firing off WhatsApp messages and emails. Like, what are we doing here? Where's the inventory there? When are we going to get the inventory here? Where's the shipment? Where's that? They're like, Ari, shut up. It's okay. It's all being taken care of. Everybody has their jobs and everybody does them amazing. So if you could take one little piece of advice, it would be to slow down. It's not going to happen overnight, but if you work hard at it, it will happen.
Love that. Okay, we're gonna finish with Chris here. Chris, you're a wealth of knowledge. You've been in this for a long time. You've been doing it for a while. What is one thing that you're still trying to figure out?
The one thing that I'm still trying to figure out is the perfect show on Whatnot. And I'll give you an example, and then I'll keep this brief because I always talk too much. So it took me 7 years to find pictures that I like for eBay. It's actually really sad that finally, when I figured out pictures that I like, I got suspended. But as far as like so I'll give you an example. I made photos finally that were just a plain gray background and in natural light. That's my favorite photo because when the customer gets it, it looks exactly like the photo. If you use white background or you use Photoshop or you do anything to the photo, it doesn't look like that when it arrives on people. And also, I like taking pictures of items like on the ground or on a flat surface, not floating in the air like all these apps that do it. And when I saw that, I came up with this like, wow, I really like this photo. It's like what it looks like. Then I noticed that companies like Gap, Nike, Lululemon, they usually don't use white background either. If they take the time to do a professional photo, it's like on a model in real life, in nature, because that's like more of what the item looks like when you get it. So it took, what I'm trying to figure out now is that same thing for Whatnot, where I feel like it's a healthy show. The streamer is in a norm, like in a healthy spot, because like I think all of us have done a 24-hour show before.
Oh yeah.
And I think about that versus 6 4-hour shows. And if you do 6 4-hour, like when you do a 24-hour show, it's really not 24 hours. There's a lot of prep before that. Then afterwards, it's really messy. So it's like, it might have been, you might have made more money just doing 6 4-hour shows spread out than a 24-hour show. And all of the negative customer, because like one thing gets messed up in a 24-hour show and it's like 20 orders that are messed up versus a 4-hour show, there's like low defect rate. So I would like an idea of, and this is really what this whole podcast is about for me, is Laura saying earlier that she had kind of come up with 3.5 4-hour mandatory break. I remember this lady saying there are no jobs where there's not a break in the middle, and I'm like, I can literally think of hundreds of jobs where there's no break in the middle. Like if you're a singer, they don't take an intermission, they just do the whole concert and then they take a break after. So, but a concert's not 8 hours long. So it's good to know all these different things, but I'm looking, since live streaming is so new, I would like to know, what do we think is what does a perfect stream look like, so that you could do the same thing again the next day and the same thing again the next day, instead of like, okay, I got to work again, what am I doing today? I don't like that feeling, and I don't want my employees to feel like that.
Well put,
I
Chris.
really love, yeah, I think that was great, Chris. I really love are we allowed to say sellers' names
No.
on here?
Yeah,
No?
you can go ahead. I said somebody.
Okay.
Okay. So I love CK's fashion shows.
Yes.
And I think one thing that, like, I really want to do it, but I'm never going to do it because I don't want to take her idea from her, right? But what I think is, like, I've watched her sell an item that's in her fashion show for way less than when she herself or one of her friends or employees is wearing it, because customers can see it on. And that's the same thing, like, it's, you see it on a model or you see it on person, you can, it's so important. Like for me, when I go shopping, I like to touch things. Like it's all about the feeling for me, right? So if a seller is like, okay, well, this really feels like bamboo PJs or whatever, like super soft, and I'm a size small medium, this could definitely fit up to a whatever. Like it's just so important that we explain those things, because our customers can't just reach through the screen and touch it or understand like how it's gonna fit on your body. Even like if you're a size small and it's a size small shirt, you may not fit it, because we all know every brand is different. So yeah, I wish we could model shows all day long. but you can't do that. So, well, you can, but it would take a long time.
All right, crew. I would love to keep going here, but we better shut it down for this episode. Again, we will do a second episode of this because I think there's so much good here. We learned a ton. I saw Laura taking notes over here. I know that Chris takes notes on this. We're learning together, and that's the whole point of this podcast. We're learning together, and we've been in this for a long time, and we have pretty scaled businesses. So I'm really hoping that you guys took something, even if it's a little nugget from one of us today, that you can bring into your own reselling strategy. If you took something from this episode, please give it a like, give it a share. We're just getting started here. We would love for you to follow us along in this journey. We've got a lot ahead, and we're really, really excited about it. And kind of to Ari's point, we read every DM, we read every comment that we see. So if you want to see something in an episode, leave us a comment. Send us a DM. Be like, man, I'm trying to figure this out, or I would love to see an episode on this. And if we get enough comments, we're going to dunk Chris, and it's going to be awesome. So Ari already set the standard, 1,000 comments. We're dunking Chris. We're flying out to New York. It's going to be awesome. So thank you guys for joining us. We had a blast in this episode. We will see you next week for part 2 of this and maybe a bonus episode. We'll see you next week.